Hello everybody, this is Brooke aka Supernatural Simmer and welcome to another speed build. Today we are going to be building a gray modern home, which is for my Not So Berry Sims because I am bringing Not So Berry over to YouTube from Twitch. However, I am not going to start playing that until I finish Gray Gen, and we'll start the series with our heir, Aster, as a young adult or teen. I'm very excited to bring my Berry family over to YouTube, and I'm sure some of you guys have missed Venus and her kids. And by the way, the other series I'm starting will be determined by Thursday morning, so tomorrow, and her first episode will hopefully be put out sometime this weekend. I have had a problem with some people's comments showing up in my notifications, but not on the video itself, but I have taken note of what they voted for, so that'll be counted. But this video is not about those potential series. This video is about the Berry family. I just moved Venus and her kids over to a new save because I heard that having less Sims reduces lag, so I moved them to a blank save. I was kind of bored of their house in Brindleton Bay, and it wasn't really big enough for her kids and her future stepchild, so I built this one. It's a modern home, something I don't do a lot of, but I do really enjoy because they usually look so much more interesting than my typical Suburbans. This is my second home in a row with gray themes, which I'm sorry about because it can be a bit boring to look at, but I think it'll be my last for a while. The house itself is very large and it takes up almost the whole lot, which isn't something I usually like to do for my family homes, but I figured since most of Venus's children were already almost grown up, they wouldn't need as much yard space. Venus is my Gray Gen heir, and she has 4 children and 1 future stepchild. If you hadn't heard of the Not So Berry Challenge before now, I'll link the rules down below, but the gist is that you have 10 generations, each with a different color theme, and each generation has different goals, which are designed to be things you don't normally do. Like in Generation 1, you have to complete the Elements collection, and in Gen 2, you have to do the Serial Romantic aspiration. But currently, I'm on Gen 4, almost 5, which is gray, hence the theme of the house. Venus is a very sporty sim, and she's in the athlete career. All we have left until we complete her generation is to master her career and marry a neat sim. I believe we need 2 more promotions, and I think we're in a relationship with the neat sim, so we're very close to Plum, which is Gen 5. Aster, my Plum Gen heir, is a bit of a wild person. She's very eccentric and non-committal. She doesn't know how to stick to things, so she's going to quit her job and divorce her spouse, only to later get back together with said spouse. I'm really excited for her generation because it leaves a lot of room for storytelling, which I've recently discovered a love for. The house's floor plan took me a while because I needed to fit 6 bedrooms because I wanted each person to have their own room. After all, Venus is a professional athlete, so she should be able to afford a big house. But since the house was so wide and narrow, I was really struggling with where to place the rooms. I also wanted to have a good amount of bathrooms, not that I really take care of my Sims anyways, but in case someone else wanted to use the home, because it will be up for download under my Origin ID, which is SPN Simmer 34. I think I ended up with 3.5 bathrooms, which is not as many as I normally would have had in a 6-bedroom house. After all, in my real-life house, we have 5 bathrooms for a 4-bedroom house, and having lived in a 3-bedroom house with 1 bathroom and 5 people, my general rule is that you should have more bathrooms than bedrooms. Anyway, I'm hoping to get another video up this week that shouldn't take too long because it doesn't have a voiceover and those are the bane of my existence. If I ever don't upload a video at noon, blame it on the voiceover because I struggle with them so much. I know I'm a beginner and a YouTuber that I watch said they require practice, but they're very hard to do. The voiceover is about 80% of my editing process because I have to type out a script for myself so that I don't stutter my way into oblivion. In fact, I have about 40 minutes until I'm supposed to upload this, and I am 3 minutes in on a 16-minute voiceover. But to get away from my ranting, let's talk about the video I had planned. I know that a lot of you guys don't really know my Not So Berry family very well, so I thought I could do a montage from Gen 1 to Gen 4 of memorable moments. It's a very easy video considering I have all of my Not So Berry screenshots in folders organized by generation because I have a Tumblr and I have to keep track of that stuff somehow, so I just have to put the screenshots in and some music and voila, a video. But I'm excited to make that video because it'll be a nice break considering every single one of the videos I've put out so far have a voiceover. Starting some series will be so much fun as well because I love playing with challenges, even if I cheat a lot. I used to not really cheat in my Sims games, but then I discovered that you can shift-click on the mailbox to fill their needs, so I did that a lot. And then I started downloading mods and got UI Cheats extensions, so now I don't take care of their needs at all. The only time I take care of a need is when I cheat their sleep need down and make them go to sleep in order to speed up time. There is one Sims game where I actually take care of my Sims, and that's The Sims Free Play, which I've recently started playing again. One of my friends downloaded it and she's hooked, which I wasn't expecting because she's not really much of a gamer. She has one sim named Vince, who's some guy from a band she likes, and he has free will practically. She was trying to get her founder sim Liza with another sim Tommy, but Vince would always just start being flirty with Liza, and eventually they got together. Vince will also just refuse to do things sometimes. She tells him to go to work and he'll just say no, while the rest of them go just fine. Also, a couple days ago, I was watching her play and she took Vince on a drive and he would just go home in the middle of a drive or disappear, leaving behind money but not showing up on the map. The Sims Free Play was actually the first Sims game I ever played. My stepmother played it all the time because she played Sims when she was younger, and I loved to hear about her Sims. Eventually I found this YouTuber who made videos where famous people and Disney characters and all that had children in The Sims, and she saw what they looked like. And when she started her city living Let's Play, I asked my mom to buy me the game. I used to play it on my little laptop, and I would just make Sims all day because I wasn't really into the gameplay or building aspect yet. At the time, I didn't have CC, so the Sims obviously weren't looking their best, but that's how I got into the Sims. Since then, I saved up my money and bought every pack, and once I had every pack, I started wanting more, so I downloaded CC. And that kind of got me into Tumblr, and eventually I figured that if people liked my stuff on Tumblr, who's to say they wouldn't like my stuff on Twitch? So I started streaming there, but eventually that started to be too big of a commitment for my introversion. So I moved over to YouTube, and I cannot begin to say how much I enjoy making videos for you guys because this is my dream career. And while I'm not there yet, I'm hoping that eventually I'll be able to do this full time. But long story short, I started playing Sims Free Play again, and I'm currently on the 2.5 Sims quest, and I have 8 Sims in my town. And as you can tell, the house is coming together. I'm almost on to furnishing, but first I do some landscaping and get the roof together because I am incapable of having a flat roof without some decoration on it. And when I do start the furnishing, I start off with the kitchen. I know in my first speed build I went on about how I prefer a white kitchen, and in the 2 videos since then I've had black countertops, but that's just because it fits the style of the house. My biggest complaint with my house isn't countertops, it's how nothing goes together. And I'm not going to go into depths with that again because apparently the only thing my mother will comment on in my videos is about how I shouldn't make fun of her house. So, as I said earlier, Venus currently has 4 kids. Her oldest is Allium, and he's almost a young adult. He's neat and a green fiend with the freelance botanist aspiration. He's a sweetheart, and I think he really just wants to make people laugh. He's really close with his little sister Iris, who's 5 days younger than him. She's a music lover and a foodie with the musical genius aspiration. I think she's had dreams of being a pop star since she was a child, and her singing skill proves that she could be, seeing as she's at level 10. Her and Allium are both A students. This generation I've been waiting for their birthdays to age them up instead of doing it as soon as they get an A, so she's got 7 days until she's a young adult, meaning Allium has 2. Venus is going to be an adult in a couple of days, so she and Allium are going to be the same age for a little while, which, while a little odd, really demonstrates that she's a young mother. Allium's father, Indigo, died in a fire right after Venus and him moved out of their little apartment. Venus hadn't given birth to Allium yet, so Allium never knew his father. Iris's father was a neighbor that Venus hooked up with soon after Allium was born, but when Venus told him she was pregnant, he wasn't happy and wanted nothing to do with Iris, so Iris never met her father either. Now, Thistle and Aster, the twins, were the result of a guy named Hyacinth and Venus hooking up. And right after they woohooed, he walked away, so Venus never told him she was pregnant until one day they happened to be at the hospital at the same time, and he saw that she was pregnant. They got in a fight, and Venus hasn't seen him since, so the twins never knew their father either. On Love Day, Venus was hopeless and thought that she'd never find love, and felt horrible that her children didn't have a good father figure. But she met this guy at the nightclub named Helios, and they've been dating for a little while. Venus even thinks marriage might not be far away, so she bought a bigger house to house him and his daughter Willow, and that's how she came across this house in Windenburg. And now I don't know what to talk about anymore because I've been working on this voiceover since 10 this morning. Talk about the build, I hear you say, but I feel as though that would just sound like me going, and now I put down a chair. And now I've put down a wall decoration. So you can see my dilemma. My boyfriend gave me a suggestion to talk about random things, but that's not very helpful because I am not a random person, and because of COVID and summer break, I don't have much of a social life to talk about. I mean, I got a new game for my Wii, Just Dance 2018. I have a lot of Just Dance games. It's something I really enjoy. I think I would do dance if body image issues wouldn't arise, and I also have a bit of stage fright. I was actually considering signing up for theater back in 8th grade because I was just getting into musical theater, but then I decided to go for another elective. I mean, it didn't really end up meaning anything anyway because I transferred to another school for 9th grade. Now I'm on my 4th year of German, and I'm also doing childhood development and a debate class. I hadn't really thought of how long I've been doing German. I took it back in 7th grade when the class offered was only one semester, and then I took German 1 in 8th grade, but when I transferred to a new school for high school, my German credit for 8th grade didn't count anymore, so I had to retake German 1, and now I'm moving on to German 2 in 10th grade. I'm also taking childhood development, as I said, and I wonder how that class is going to go. I'm not entirely sure why I took that class anyway, seeing as I no longer plan on being a teacher, not that I was going to teach elementary in the first place, and I also don't ever plan on having a small child. I suppose I just like the idea of taking care of a little robot baby, because that just sounds so much more less gross, because I feel like it's not going to throw up on me and stuff. Um, though I'm not sure that my class is going to do that. My mom says she thinks we'll do eggs, which is beyond stupid in my opinion. It is so much easier to keep an egg from cracking for a semester than to take care of a baby for a month. I also wonder how my debate class is going to work because debating requires 2 people and I do online schooling, so there's not exactly a classmate next to me at all times. I do really enjoy debating, though. I took a debate class back in 7th grade. Well, I say debate class. It was more like, here's how to stand in front of people and talk. I did really well during the debate unit, though. My debate was with a kid named Ethan, and it was on whether students should be allowed to eat during class. Now, I really don't care about that. I don't want to eat during class because I'm busy, but you do you. But I took the position that they shouldn't be allowed to, and I absolutely crushed him in the debate. Now, that wasn't hard because I'm a huge nerd and he showed up to class around once a week, but he was still only 2 votes behind me, which I have not forgotten even now because it was beyond irritating. I think people just voted for him because they agreed with his stance, even though the teacher said specifically not to do that. I took that class for a semester, and the debate unit was the only one I enjoyed, except for maybe the unit where we had to do an informational presentation. I did mine on Voldemort, and I did the presentation as if he were a real person. I really enjoyed it, even though I was literally shaking the entire time, like I do with all of my presentations. I also hated that class's final because it was improv. We had to do improv for our final, something that was completely subjective and something I couldn't even study for. She gave me the prompt, and I was to convince the class to give me money for my birthday. I had one person I was friends with in this class. The rest of them were complete strangers. I had to convince strangers, most of them delinquents who didn't even like me, to give me money. God, I sound like an old woman calling people delinquents. My sister started talking to this guy that I knew back in 7th grade, and he was actually in the debate class with me. But she started talking with him, and I've been referring to him as a delinquent instead of his actual name. But that's besides the point. My sister can hang out with whoever she wants, but I started my way through the improv, and she gave me feedback at the end, and I just about cried because I didn't get an A on my final. Now, in 7th grade, anything below an A was a failure in my book because I was that kid. I remember one time I was at my dad's, and my mom texted me to say I had an A- in one of my classes, and I cried for an hour. Now that I'm almost in 10th grade, anything above a B is beautiful. I remember back in junior high, I fully expected to go through high school with a 4.0 GPA, because that's what I got in 7th grade. And now I find out that I have ADHD and I can barely focus enough to do my schoolwork, let alone do it well. Anyway, this year I'm taking chemistry and I'm literally going to die. It's like math, but science instead, and I am an English student. When I go to college, I want an English degree, and if I become a teacher, I am going to be an English teacher. I like books and writing, not the periodic table of elements. The scienciest thing I like is space and dinosaurs, astronomy and paleontology, not chemistry. I didn't even like biology because I had to learn about the structure of cells. My favorite part of biology was the Punnett squares, which, by the way, are great if you haven't learned about them. They're also really easy to decipher. Like, I have gray-blue eyes, my mom has brown, and my dad has gray-blue-green ones. That means that my mother had a big B and a little b, and my dad, probably his eye color is a little weird, had two little b's, meaning that I had a 50% chance of having blue eyes. I love it. I could even see what my future children might look like if I have them. I also love history, but not boring history like years and dates and most wars. I like learning about people and their scandals. I was into history before I started watching musical theater, but since I've started listening to Hamilton and Six, my love for history has ignited. It's also much easier to learn about history when you have music to go along with it. I believe that I'm taking world history this year, so I get to learn about so many different cultures and time periods. Another thing that has really made me into history is learning about fashion trends back then. There's this YouTuber, Bernadette Banner, who I really enjoy watching. I recommend her video where she judges historical Halloween costumes because it's amazing and I learned quite a bit from it. I mean, you may only like it if you're into fashion, but it's still an interesting watch. I'll link her channel in the description. Also, a lot of time has passed since I started this voiceover, nearly 8 hours, but I am determined to get this video out today, seeing as I mentioned the whole voting thing that's closing tomorrow. So I'm going to cut this voiceover short. See you soon, and don't forget about the screenshots at the end.